What is up, everybody, and welcome back to an episode of Ford Era. So we are here in Tennessee now in my boy's backyard. It's Tin Knockers, and if you don't remember Kody, he's the guy that put the trim on Gold Dust, and he's also the guy responsible for doing a whole bunch of work to trucks that you never see because I always ship them up here, and you do a bunch of magic.
Right.
But now we're here.
Work the metal on it.
So this is one of those trucks. So this truck came out of Soddy Daisy, and I'll put the clip here so you guys can remember when we pulled it out of the building. And it was a pretty decent looking truck, and you don't realize how much metal work and repair the trucks really need until a professional looks at it.
Until you start picking on it and everything. Then you find all the hidden little demons in these things.
And like it had the big mirrors on here and a bunch of dents, so I was like, fix that, let's gap it, let's get rid of a bunch of rust. I mean, you could pretty much talk more in detail, but I mean, this thing, so I didn't realize how bad it was.
It ended up having a lot of hidden damage in these things, especially the doors. I mean, here from these big mirrors, man, it really just worked these areas. The bottom edge, this was all caved in and just completely mudded up and hiding everything. These is notorious for these trucks. It's all the same spots. The bottom edge of the doors, it ends up hiding. Everything in there is always rusted out. Every single one of them. Gets moisture down inside there. It builds up. Same thing. Bottom edge here on the skins on every one of the doors. It catches the water. Oh, excuse me. Got all the little spots that you wouldn't really think of when you start picking on it and you start stripping paint, and you find the inner structure's rotted, the outer skin, everything had rust. So it's all the little stuff. You
know what we need to do is we need to go over all the photos that you send me as updates and talk about them after we do this little tour.
Right, yeah, definitely.
And really, that way you guys could kind of, I think that way you'll understand, because like we're going over it kind of quick, but it's really cool to kind of see the befores and afters as he's doing it.
Yeah, once it's all finished, you don't really understand what's there or what had to happen to get it to that point. And so when you see the last step, it's kind of hides what actually had to happen to these things. The backs of the cabs and cab corners on these Ford trucks are always, you know, a pretty key spot where you got to watch out for rust.
Dude, I love that you like literally put back all the lines and everything.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's a panel that we actually have the templates and everything to duplicate the cab corners and everything for these Ford trucks.
Nice. So if someone needs them, where do they hit you up?
You can hit me up. Easiest way would probably be drop me a line on Instagram. We can get some panels shipped out.
Heck yeah.
That'd be the easiest, quickest way.
You shaved over
Shaved
here.
the gas door. This was the one that had
lots of rust repair.
Attempted roof repair. Just because your buddy can do it cheaper doesn't always mean let him. This one, because a simple edge, which would have been along this edge here for rust, has now, you can see, moved back 8 to 10 inches into the roof just because of a failed repair.
Dude, you metal finished that thing perfect. It's not going to need almost any body filler.
Yeah, so that one went in pretty well. That's how, you know, when you do panels like this, that's kind of how they should look. You know, it doesn't always have to be perfect.
Are you selling that too?
Yes, that's a patch panel, a panel that we can duplicate and we can make. Depending, you just have the basic one that most people need goes 1.5 inches into the roof line because generally it's just right here on these trucks.
And how do you sell that? By the foot or like a certain section length? Or?
Generally, what I like to do is just single cab, crew cab, so you get your section length long enough with a little bit of extra to cut it in and kind of do your thing.
What's the price difference? Because they're going to want to know.
You know, prices aren't really worked out completely yet. We're still in the process on that.
Okay,
this is
hit
all
you
just
up in the DM.
Stages. Exactly, just hit me up. We can work out some prices. We're still just in the beginning stages of the products and everything, the panels. But again, you see it's always it's the same spots on all the doors, on all the cab corners, on everything. Same in here with this one, it's just the same all the way down the whole bottom edge of the door.
And as you guys can see, he even had to cut this panel out. That way he could get in there perfectly so he could get a hammer and dolly the right way and actually metal finish it. Because I was like, as little body filler as we can get.
Right. And so that's one of the little things, that the extra step that goes into it just to give you the overall product that you're after. And so there's little hidden pieces that no one would really think of, but it's all nature of the beast and part of it.
And these hoods are always rusted out in different areas. This one had a bunch of holes drilled.
This one had rust in here, and the whole front edge of this was all pretty well rotted out.
Yep.
So we had to cut
and it had those big weird letters on it.
Yeah, we got rid of those. Not sure where those came from, but they did not belong, that's for sure.
They looked cool.
They're all right. I got them hidden in a box for you if you need them. But
heck yeah. So should we give them a secret on what tomorrow's video is going to be about?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get into that.
As you guys could see, there's no bed on here, but I'm going to be taking this truck to Street Machinery and have them blend all the patina. So I figured I couldn't find a bed. I was looking for a bed everywhere. Well, Autometal Direct makes brand new beds. So tomorrow's video is going to be how to build and assemble a Autometal Direct bed. So we got both bed sides, the floor, obviously the header panel, and the tailgate. It's gonna be pretty cool.
Right, yeah. These ones, I mean, they go together really great. I can't complain about the quality materials they put out. Actually, use some of their panels for Snickers.
Yep.
We use the complete bed side and then just the outer bed skin. Doing it this way, man, it's nice. It's really nice. It's straightforward. You can't go wrong. I mean, double check your measurements, make sure it's square, make sure the diamond's out right and everything. You don't want to weld it together and then have this thing be completely screwed up. So, yeah. That's the biggest thing with these. Other than that, it's like a grown-up puzzle. You just got to put it together, get your measurement right, and glue it all together with the welder. That's pretty good. So it should be a fun little day tomorrow.
Tomorrow's going to be really cool. It'll be an exact one. So if you guys want to know how to build those, that's what this is going to be about. And
Absolutely.
then should show them a little bit of soon to come.
Yeah.
This is a great example of how much work a door needs.
Right. Exactly. There you go. This is what those big mirrors.
From the looks of it, you're like, oh, that's nice. Okay, you just need to, like, you know, fill this hole. But then when you look at it like this is like all smashed to freaking
completely caved in. Every single door, they're just big cave, just been hit. Whiskey dents down the side or whatever the case may be.
And they were trucks. That's what they were meant to be.
Exactly. They were used as a truck. But again, you can see on this one even, the rest is in the same spots. You got some coming through up here, same spot, and again, all the way down this roof line here. So that's another place where the crew cab roof patch could work. Back here, typical cab corner. Yep. Another spot, we got panels for that. We got the patches and can duplicate those.
Luckily, AMD got us on the beds.
There we go.
But they even make the
full patch. Don't have to mess with that. And that is, I always lean towards them. If they got it, we're using that. If anybody makes a panel, we're using that. I don't want to just make it from scratch if we don't have to. Obviously, there's better ways to do things.
And then we got a couple, we got a Soddy truck here. So this was
got a couple of them
the only bump F26 that we had there. And I thought it was going to become a parts truck for this truck. So it's kind of hard to see because I got my small lens on here. But this is the crew cab that you guys have seen on my page a bunch. So this is here to basically we're going to turn this thing into a mega cab.
All right. Yes.
And you want to tell them how you're going to mega cab it, or should we just let them? Whoa! Ooh. Look at that thing.
Ooh, go spider go.
All right.
Perks of living in Tennessee here, huh?
I like this roof.
All right. Yeah, that came as parts. Came with the parts truck as an extra roof. Which is what that roof and the doors in there is what basically eliminated needing to use this truck as a parts truck.
Oh yeah.
And that came from Bryson, Fabricated Metal up there in Iowa. He hooked us up with that. So this truck, we'll give you a little tidbit on it. I mean, basically what we're doing is we're cutting this thing in half. We're stretching the cab. We're going to cut and shorten the bed the amount the cab's stretched.
Because right now, so this is an F350. I really don't want to walk into that thing. Hold on, fellas. All right, there we go. So this is an F350, so it's a super long wheelbase. So instead of modifying the wheelbase of a short bed and everything, we're just gonna take 10 inches out of this and it'll look great that way. Right. And then the cab. Right. So the regular mega cabs that I've seen, they're pretty cool, but I think that, you know, you need some hair, but you also need some hair. Right, exactly. Proportionally to keep everything right. You got to stretch some through the door and then add the rest of it behind the cab. You want to have that cab space behind it to kind of give it the mega cab look. But you don't want to go too far in that and have a big old wide, you know, panel in the back. So you've really got to balance your proportions on this. Absolutely. And we got it pretty well dialed on the renderings and everything. So really looking forward to seeing this one come together. And this is what good drip rails look like, which is crazy that we're taking good drip rails and cutting them up, but to make it better. Right, exactly. You got to make it better. And then you got, you know, a couple more bump crews people might not have seen. They're not really gonna, but, you know, needs all the regular door stuff. This, I don't know what happened. This side, this looks truck, like he smacked into something. The driver's side of this truck is just beat. Man. Yeah. It's just beat. It's crazy because if you compare it to the passenger side, night and day difference. But it's got, again, same rust spots on all of the trucks, your door panels, the inside and outside, the fender.
this B-pillar right here ends up being a pretty common spot. And also check on both sides in your door jambs. This one actually has rusted holes in there. Tends to be a pretty common area. This one, other than that, there's not a ton of rust. It's the doors, the fenders, and stuff like that. This passenger side, though, it's just...
oh, yeah. Much prettier. I mean, still rusty on the bottom.
Still got a little crust down in the bottom edges. Typical spots, again, on these trucks.
Regular.
So it's that one's going to come along and be a nice cruiser for them.
Heck yeah.
It's actually getting the four-wheel drive swap out of this truck now. So we're going to do the full four-wheel drive swap. Still in this engine, trans, and suspension stuff out of this one to swap into the Crew.
Heck
So
yeah.
that one's actually going to be cut up here soon.
And what all did you do? I know we're a Ford page, but this thing's pretty awesome.
So
Especially the tubs.
this thing, complete back half, custom back half. It's got inner fenders and a radiator cover up underneath. Unfortunately, this one, the customer kind of just drove it around and never painted or anything. So the inner fenders under the hood are rusted. They're able to get the bed painted. It's actually, when it leaves from me, it's going to be LS swapped and get repainted.
Nice.
But this one's got a full custom back half, narrowed to run 24 by 16 inch wheels. All the rear sheet metal, rear tubs. It was all like a honeycomb pattern that we bead rolled.
Yeah, you were in the middle of doing it when we did the things on Gold Dust.
Right, exactly. Yeah, the amount of hours in this bead roll pattern is crazy. It's crazy. It's one of those things that most people wouldn't think about, you know. And there's customer like, oh, this would be a good idea, and me bid on it. Like, that's awesome, let's do it. And then when you're 80 hours into a set of tubs, question why you ever thought about it, you know.
Especially when you're charging by the hour.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and you got to break that to them, like, hey, guess what these tubs cost, you know. And so that's a hard one to swallow, but they turned out awesome. I've yet to see someone fully copy them, but it lays out pretty hard. It's in here for a couple updates. Change up a couple things. This is for a good customer out of Alabama for me.
Heck yeah.
So,
Actually, all the magic happens. So what I love is, you know, a lot of people overthink it. They're like, you need a big ass shop. You need all these tools.
No,
you need to buy everything that Bailey sells. You need to buy all the Mittler Brothers stuff and this and that. And it's like,
you just need to know how to do it. A little knowledge and know-how will get you a lot further than your fancy tools. Really, I mean, I do a lot of stuff by hand. I do have a lot more equipment. It's all stored in a shipping container because obviously my room is just limited here. So I find myself having to go use stuff there and come back, which makes things difficult, small shop problems. Hopefully here soon we can grow and get a bigger place and kind of move on from there. But I do love it. It's humble beginnings and it's nice, you know.
And you could actually focus on the one project because you could only work on one project.
I'm one man by myself, so the most I really get going at a time is 1, 2. You know, sometimes I'll trickle in a third here and there, but other than that, it all sits. It just sits and waits.
Dude, this is gonna be cool. Well, we're gonna catch up a little bit, and then we're gonna go over those notes. So we'll see you when we do that. All right, guys. So we came inside, and I'm gonna show you all of the notes and everything on how we did, or not me, but you. So let's talk about it. So basically, starting from the top, you know, first photo, and then just you'll give me an explanation on what we're doing. So in the beginning, you're just kind of showing me all the problems.
Right, yeah, so the beginning of these things we basically go over, and it's just showing the problem areas in that initial one with all the rust spots and the damaged areas. Just kind of give you a brief understanding of where we're at. So I'll start it all with that, and then it's the repaired pictures. So this, we start shaving holes, came across some more rust in here. Cut out the rust, had rust on the inner structure in that as well, so we cut the inner structure out, repaired the skin, inner structures back in. Here we have the nose structure, had to repair all the rust in that. And again, it's just little bits, you got to cut everything out, get in there, clean it, fix it, use rust mort, and then a rust preventative primer, and then it all goes back together, and then you got that cap back in. And so every little step matters to prevent more rust coming through. And then you move on down to the next one, and you can see the door. This was the driver's door, and that you can see how bad it was. Those big, excuse me, those big mirrors are just rough on these trucks, man. They're just, so that's the before, and we kind of start shaving holes. Hammered out all the damage first, and then we'll shave up all the holes with little plugs. And so here we can see plugging it. Here they're done. This is actually where I cut out bigger patches rather than just putting in round holes, because you can see here they got kind of torn. So just a basic round plug wasn't going to work. So we did that, and here you can see the completed door skin. So there's just a lot. Here's where you showed you earlier on the inside of the door, where just to be able to hammer and dolly the outer skin, had to cut half of the inside of the door out just to get access to it, just to be able to gain access to the hammer on both sides and make it look like it should, so it doesn't take a ton of Bondo over there. Here we're just shaving up the last couple holes on the hood and getting into the doors. Here's where, like I told you, it's always the same spots, inside and out. So here's the outer skin. Dang. And as you can see here, it's rotted on the inner structure as well. So we make the patch. This one we have the templates. I usually make these 5 or 6 at a time and get the door patch. So ready to go in with flanges tipped on both sides to be hemmed over the inner structure. Here you can see I've repaired all the rust on the inner structure. Use Rustmore and a rust preventative primer to stop it. Prime the back side of that patch panel to get ready to go in. There's all the fit up on it. Just want to make sure it's a nice tight fit before you start welding. Make sure your final product comes out a little better. Here we have the inner structure patch that we had to put in just to get rid of all the rust in there. There it is, clamped in place. Getting ready to weld it in. Come down here, there it is, all welded out and finished up. Here's another angle with the door skin on it. You can see it's already been hemmed over the edge, just like a factory door would be with the hemmed edge. And there's a lot that goes into just that little piece to make it look like a factory piece with all the stamped curvature and everything.
How many hours do you think you have in just that piece?
In that piece alone, I mean, there's probably, man, the inner structure, probably 8 hours, I'd say, 7 or 8
full
hours.
Day.
Yeah, full day. Full day and just making the inner.
Some good days of work, though.
Right, exactly. So
be proud of it.
Right, thank you. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into those, and I mean, I've got it down to where now, obviously after you do so many, it doesn't take quite as long, but you can't shortchange the amount of work that it takes to get this final product.
Forming that from just by hand, making all those shapes, I mean.
Right, exactly. So here you can see the outer door skin. That's with the skin welded on, finished out. I actually had to rehem the whole bottom edge of that door all the way up there. Rehem just to kind of get rid of all the rust when you put the bottom in. And here you can see where it actually complete. The whole bottom of this door had to be remade because of the rust. I mean, it's just basic because these little holes get plugged up, and that's another little detail. When you rebuild this, you have to put those drainage holes back in, otherwise you're going to be right back in the same situation in a couple of years. And so you got to have all those little details for longevity of your work. You don't want it to rust out again and then somebody come back and be like, well, who did this? It was just repaired. There's holes in the floor from the switch, the fuel tank switch. That one just got a pretty basic patch. I mean, nothing too crazy. It's pretty flat. Cut it out, welded it in here, or prep. That one again, I mean, I got kind of lucky on that one. It literally held itself in place. Welded out, metal finished out. And then here we are onto another door. Again, the rear doors, those back corners, they get rust in the back corners. It never fails. That's something that I make these patch panels, usually 5 or 6, 7 at a time, and just have them because it never fails. They get used, and it's always the same spots. So I make them a little big, trim them down as needed. Here, the same dance as the front door, but you have to replace the inner structure, prime everything. Got the piece ready to go back in, and here we cut open the bottom of the door, peeled all the rust out. And I mean, really, it just travels that quick where, oops, dang, backed out of that, where it'll just eat up the whole bottom edge of the door. Next thing you know, you're cutting the bottom off of your door structure. And so then with it peeled off, you can see all the rust that was already forming down in the hem, the seam down on the bottom edge of the door. So if you didn't take all that apart and clean all that and replace the rotted stuff, and if you left it, then obviously it's just coming right back. And so you end up back in the same situation. So here it is all finished out. That same door, just complete new inner structure on the bottom edge, a new outer skin hemmed over. There it is on the truck. You know, so the amount of time and all the little steps that it takes to get to that point, you know, it's not one to be overlooked. Here it is, another angle of it where you can see just the whole entire bottom edge there. And it's not just a wide piece, but it's the piece with, you know, there's quite a bit of shape, believe it or not, in that little bit of area. You know, it just ends here, but again, it's all the same spot. There's the gas door, shave the gas door. Go on to the next file. Here we are getting into cab corners. So you can see the cab corners. I actually have another one sitting over here, just ready for the outer edge to be turned. And there's the rust, same spots. There's some more along the back edge of the cab. Just went ahead and cut everything out, got it prepped. You can see when you got this out of the way, the inner structure had some rot in it also. So I made a new flange, replaced the inner structure while the outer was out. Got that all welded in and primered. You got it here. And there it is with the outer skin welded back in place. Just ran a little step on the bottom edge there so it matches the rest of the factory line across the back of the cab.
Details.
Yeah, the details, so you can't tell that it's done. The point of all of it is to make sure people don't know it ever got done in the first place. And see, here's another angle of it with the stamped body line and that rolled edge, the tipped edge right here along the edge to match the factory, you know, what would be there.
It's crazy how you do all this stuff, dude.
So it's those little details that I get caught up on. Because if it's not right to me, then it's not going to be right. And if I can't sell myself on it, then I can't sell somebody else on it. And so to me, it's like it's all got to be right. Otherwise, it's just not worth it. And so if you're going to do it, you got to do it right. Even just shaving the little holes where the gas tank, with the in-cab gas tank, each one of those got shaved, completely metal finished out, you know, then primered on the backside. See here, you can see where it's welded in, sanded it all down. And see here, you can see some damage that happened on the back edge of that cab corner. That one I ended up doing a bunch of stud gun and just pulled that out and was able to reach in from the interior hole where the gas filler went through and got a dolly inside there and did a little bit of hammer work. And that's just knowing how to use the little basic tricks, tricks of the trade, basic tools, and get everything pulled out, welded up the little holes that happened, and then boom, it's done. So you don't always have to cut it out and replace it if you know how to fix it. You know?
Well, also metal finish it, because most people would get it to like the first level of, oh, we pulled most of the dent out, let's slap a bunch of body filler on it and let's shape this corner up.
Right, exactly. Good enough for me.
So like, I mean,
yeah, excuse me. It's to get to that next little step, and to me, the metal finishing is probably my favorite part of it. It calms me down. It's like a weird thing. It always has been for me. So here you can see the other side of the cab. We got into the same situation, same exact spot. The rust in that corner there from this, you know, just drainage, not moisture getting caught up in here and never draining, back there underneath the tank. And so it rotted out the inner. Made a little flange to replace that. There it is, prep ready to weld in. Going down there, see, I got in the zone and just didn't take pictures. But here's the other side all finished out. Moving up into the cab corner. That cab corner ended up being a weird one because I went at it with the stud gun at first and pulled a lot of the damage out and got to probably about 70% of the way there and came to the realization that this just wasn't going to happen this way. You know, so it got to the point where I'm like, you know what, I'm not going to get the final product that I want out of it. I'm going to have to cut it out and do it. And so that's when I made the decision to, go ahead and make a patch and make a panel to go in. And so we cut it out, made a patch panel, and welded it in. And just replace, the cab corner on it. And so then you can see where it's all in. And that one was kind of a tricky one because it's a locked panel. There's no way to hammer and dolly that corner without cutting your way into it and really causing more damage than what it's worth. You know, so you got to be able to balance that, because at the end of the day, you know, time is money, and not everybody just.
And it is getting body work.
Yeah, it's got to go to body work. It's not a Riddler car. It's not going to be shown in bare metal. Like a 16th of filler is not the end of the world. You know, it happens. You know,
I mean, that's what it's meant for.
Exactly.
It's not meant for, you know, a half an inch.
Right. Exactly. So that's where you have to be able to balance that. And me as a metal guy, like, you know, you want it as perfect as possible, but a skim coat is okay. You're not building, you know, and that's kind of always what I tell people. Like, if you're not building a Riddler car, then a skim coat is perfectly okay.
And you have built those cars that you have to bear metal, and those are perfect.
Right, exactly. And I've had, you know, my fair share of that. And don't get me wrong, I love that. But at the end of the day, you got to know what your customer's after, you know, and kind of understand what fill them out. And obviously, you don't cut corners, because that's just kind of not fair and unacceptable when you pass that off. But there's ways to do it where you still do an amazing job at your work and at your job, but you're not completely metal finishing out. You know, you're not doing it, because in the grand scheme of things, you can get it to where, you know, as like a metal finisher, metal guy, we would call it, you know, 80% of the way there. But 80% of the way there is a 16th of body filler. But what people don't understand is that last 20% will take just as much time as that first 80%.
And if you don't have a good guy that does it, they just screw it right on up.
Right. And so then you get into a spot where, yeah, it just gets messed up, and, you know, and people get in over their head, and then panels just end up messed up because they just kind of bit off a little more than they can chew, and sometimes it doesn't always work out. They turn out good. Yeah.
They turn out great. I mean, dude, Snickers blew my mind.
Right, that one I took.
You haven't seen it painted yet. I have.
No, I haven't got to see it. That one I took a little bit of personal pride in, just to kind of get that roof right and not have to cut that out.
Dude,
that was kind of one of those goals for me. Is like, I don't want to cut this out.
Here, I'm gonna overlay. Let's pull up those notes.
Yeah,
we've never actually looked at Snickers notes. That'd be a good one.
So Snickers, yeah, that one was.
Is that the first?
Where are we at? No, that's not the first. Here we go. Here we go. So this is when I first got it. I mean, this thing.
That's not right when you got it.
Not
that's
right,
after,
obviously, right.
That's after your cutting wheel got it.
Yeah, right after my grinder got a hold of it. You know, once this thing got here and you take the ratchet straps off and you undo all it wanted to come apart. So I just got right to cutting. Here's the bed sides. I think I've seen recently. They're hanging on your wall.
They are. Dude, I almost died hanging them up again.
There, no.
Well, I was by myself hanging off the ladder.
Oh, shit.
And the ladder's like hanging 20 feet in the air. And then the things are so heavy, so I'm they're hung up. I didn't die. That's all that matters.
You didn't die, but you didn't die.
Yeah.
So here, you know, just cutting out, here's the cab corner, just mapping out for that replacement cab corner for you so we can get that on the way. And that.
Shout out to, you know, Brian Delphil, Kyle's dad.
Right.
He literally cut up a truck so I could get that cab corner, because nobody makes that yet.
Man, when you told me there's a cab corner coming, that's not what I expected. Yeah, dude, bravo. That was
What do you mean? This is Snickers.
That was a whole cab corner that man sent us.
A full cab corner.
It's got everything we need. We're good. We're golden.
It was more than you needed. You're like, I didn't even need that much.
Right. So we got, you know, but
you welded the whole thing in too to make it a better final job.
Right. Exactly. So we ended up, man. We just went to town. The damage that you did on that thing was just wild.
It's not my fault. It's Mass Motorsports' fault.
Right,
they built that Godzilla too spicy.
It's a little too spicy.
It was a rusty truck.
Right, and then that's what I was getting ready to say. Look at what we found. We get in there and there's rust.
That's why something like the bed blew apart because of how rusty that side of the bed. I don't know why that side of the bed was rusty.
Right,
but
there was obvious.
It was rusty.
Rust. Yeah, and when you peeled it apart, there was rust. And so I actually had to pull this back just to get that door open. And I mean, just to get into there, and then I jumped into the roof. This is where I wanted to have a little fun with it. I didn't want to start welding into that roof just because putting heat into a roof, welding it, generally it likes to warp. Roofs and hoods, their nature, they're beasts in their own. Put it that way. You got to kind of tackle them carefully. So here we're just metal finishing, hammer and dolly. I did cut out a small piece on the inside structure to be able to access this.
Small in comparison to the size of the cab, but
right, exactly.
You cut a big. I mean, I'm pretty sure you have a picture of it.
Yeah.
But you cut a big chunk out.
Yeah. So we.
It's crazy how much additional work other things bring.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and I say small like it's a couple inch piece. No, small is in probably almost a foot, 2 feet.
Yeah.
A corner of the cab, but compared to cutting out the outside, it was minimal.
It was.
And so that's where, you know, then I have access to really metal finish this out. And I did a lot of shrinking disc. I didn't want to use a torch on it because the torch shrinks are too generalized right in that area. And a flat roof is just going to cause more warpage. So you sneak up on it with a shrinking disc, a lot of hammer and filing until that thing was just smooth. And then to the point where, you know, I do a lot off of light lines. You know, the light lines don't lie. So you can really see once it's all done. That's the original metal, no cutting, no welding, just metal finish, just hammered out. And here you can see what I mean by a small piece. Yeah, the whole inner structure there was taken out. But, like you say, in comparison to the cab, it's a small piece.
Yeah.
You also lost some of your
Resto mod membrane.
Yeah.
I'll put it back.
But here you can see that piece goes right back in. And how I balance it is when you measure the amount of welding that actually has to happen to get this piece back in, it was maybe 15, 16 inches of welding versus...
Right. Also, this was on complex shapes, which are less warp.
Right, exactly. Right, you have all that shape into it, it's not going to warp. It just goes right back into place. So you can kind of learn the little tricks. And here we get to the bedside that we saved. We peeled that one off, and then look, even this thing had, you know, it's hiding rust in the inner structure in that one. So this is the side that we saved. Cleaned it all up.
Yeah, that one's shocked. I think we have another set of notes.
Yeah, that one is this one.
Yeah, because that one I remember it shocked you. You're like, dude, the good side's not that good.
Right, exactly. That's what I was like. Maybe we should have just got 2 bedsides. But, you know, it's one of those things that you live and learn, and we moved on and made it happen.
I still think it was cooler to save it.
Right, exactly. And that's what I kept saying the whole time, and telling myself. It's like, no, we're saving it because we're saving Snickers. We're keeping as much as possible. But even on the good bedside, we shaved all your holes, the amount of little holes and stuff that had to be done, and welded up and repaired the damage.
Yeah, because I was like, if we're already going to repaint some of the truck, we're going to repaint the whole truck in where it needs it, because the guys at Street Machinery, I mean, Jerome's literally a magician. It's ridiculous.
Right.
And amazing. I mean, so are you. So like the two of you, you know, you just... Yeah, so you fixed all the extra areas. Like this wasn't even that was a hit that probably happened in the 80s.
Right, exactly. That one was definitely many, many years ago. Bumper got pushed into it. Both sides were hit, pushed in, and torn. You know, just hammer it all back out, weld it up, metal finish it out. Here it is, rust mark. This stuff right here, man, it works wonders. There's a lot of products out there that work, don't get me wrong. I'm sure they all work pretty good.
Not a paid product placement.
Definitely not. Rust mark right there.
It would be nice though.
It would, dude. Telling me.
Come through.
Right, send it. But like I like 415. It just goes on thick as just like a rust converter. Oh man, I can't pimp that stuff enough. Oh, see, here we go.
So that's the roof panel put back in.
Weld back in. See,
look, and metal finished perfectly.
Had the weld seam here and the weld seam there. It was like it never came out. Plug welded it back into the window. Seat back in it. She's ready to drive. Headliner back in. Ready to roll on that part. And then here we are.
Bedsides.
Bedsides, shaving up holes on the bedside.
Yep. So it used to have the hooks, and I was like, I don't want that many hooks.
Right. Got rid of all those, and even see like just that. And this is stuff. It's not just a MIG weld, plug the hole up kind of thing. This is little patches that are punched out, and then you file the hole to fit, so they actually fit tight. And what I like is with a punch, it gives you that little kind of nipple on it. And this is a little trick here. When you have the punch and it gives you that little nipple on the tip of it, get that patch to fit in your hole just perfect, right? And then you take your dolly on the backside and your hammer and you smack it and actually flatten that out inside your hole. And as it flattens out, your little slug will swell just slightly and it'll hold itself in place. And then all you gotta do is take your TIG and fuse it up and it's done.
Nice.
So then at that point, your heat that you actually put into shaving a trim hole is tiny compared to just boogering it in with a MIG welder. And so, I mean, don't get me wrong, you can make them look good with a MIG welder, but that's one of those little things where...
Yeah, how much better is it? And,
right, and then there's really, when you get down into it, it's not a whole lot more time.
No.
It's just, getting it done to where it's all finished out. And see, here's the bedside corner down on the bottom. Got that sucker hung on there. And there's the new AMD bedside. You know, that all just went together. They really went together really good.
We'll show them tomorrow.
So yeah, that one, we had the AMD inner, separate inner for that on that one side.
Yeah, I mean, it was basically a full new bed except for the outer skin on the driver's side.
Right, yeah.
And the tailgate.
And the tailgate, yeah. And it all just went together, man. That's why I love those things. They go together like a puzzle. It's like a grown-up puzzle. So we are shaving a couple holes on the tailgate. Same thing with the trim, same as the trim holes, you know, cut the little plug, weld it in, metal finish it all out. You can't skip the steps. Here we're just clearancing the bumper that had been damaged.
Yeah, I didn't get a new bumper, so.
Here's the cab corner that got sent here.
Oh yeah.
So that's the donor cab corner the portion that wasn't used. We went ahead and saved all of the Snickers that we could. Actually, no, I take that back. Sorry guys. This is your bedside, your bedpost. Check that out. Just dawned on me.
Oh yeah.
That's your bedpost right here. But
yeah,
that is actually good. Look at the amount of rust that we came into that thing.
Yep.
And so that was one of those blessings in disguise.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why that bedside blew apart.
Right.
I mean, I'm going to say it was for the spicy Mass Motorsports Godzilla.
Right. I mean, let's be honest.
But that's also, you know, rust a little bit.
That's, you know, 95% masked, you know, and then the rest did it. But see here, you get that all, went and cleaned all that up. This is the inner, or the outer portion of the wheel tub on that one side. We saved the factory one. But even on that, cleaned it all up and primered the backside with some rust preventative primer. But it is getting ready to go in, all primed and ready to go. Same thing with the bed post. That one had some pitting and stuff damage on it, but once you put everything together, it's all hidden pretty well with the skin. So it's all completely rust mortared, let that dry. I think I actually did 2 coats on that, which is what we're looking at here.
My battery is starting to die. We're gonna need to switch over. We're good.
And then here you see it all. Oh, where'd it go? Backed up. Here it is, all kind of just put up and mocked up in place using a couple factory pieces on this side. There it is, all primed and ready to go back in. Got the bedside hung. Everything's ready to just be plug welded back in place. A little hammer work around the flanging once it's in. But that thing was hung up. There's the underside of that before everything had been primed. But this is the factory piece that we had cut off and saved into the AMD inner bedside here. All welded in. There's a good angle of everything. You know, just like it would be from factory welded, ready for that outer skin to be hung on it. Once everything was squared up, went ahead and plug welded the bed post. Got that all in. Primed, stitch welded the backside just for extra support. Make sure nothing's going to move or break loose anytime down the road. That's the end of that one, it looks like. Jump to that next. Here we are. Backside of that bedside, like we started looking at a little bit earlier. The ends had some rust. The main portion, main body of it didn't. It was just dirty. So we went through, cleaned everything up with rust mart. Primed the backside of it all. The rust mart you can see here as it's drying, it kind of turns white and crystallizes, and then when it's done, it turns black. Here it is all primed and ready to go in.
That's the original one.
That's the original bedside, yes. This is the backside of the original bedside.
So literally, I mean, that was a true restoration.
Right, exactly. Took it all the way down, cleaned it, stripped it, primed it. It's ready to go back in. And here it is, getting all welded back in. Then just plug weld, and then go back in and sand it all down. So then come back and sand all the welds down. Here we are fixing some damage on the hood. That one I want to say did some stud gun on it. Here we ended up cutting out the front portion of the hood on Snickers.
The whole inner structure.
Yeah, so we ended up cutting all that out. Again, here you can see the rust. We cleaned all that up, rust mart and primed everything before it went back in.
And that was so that way you could get the access to hammer and dolly, right?
Right, exactly. So you can see here, next picture actually, perfect, is the holes that we did. There were so many of them spread out across the whole hood that it was worth it to just cut the inner structure out, gain access to the backside of all that, and go ahead and make sure it was, you know, be able to hammer and dolly it as flat as possible. And then, blessing in disguise is it ended up being pretty well rusted in there. We were able to get to all of it, and that gained access to the front corners of the hood structure, having this out, and actually was able to get rust more inside there to stop any rust that was forming in there also. And so it kind of was, it was another blessing being able to gain access to the inside of all that. And here you can see your mold metal finished out from, I believe you said the previous owner had like a Kenworth head emblem or something there.
Yeah,
so
he did.
Got that all done. The video shaving the holes, not sure. Oh, that was just damaged. Here we're pulling the stud gun on those dents in the front edge of the hood here. So this one had just like some weird dingers in it. That stuff had dropped on it or whatever had happened over the years, and so we pulled it all out. So like pictures are a little backwards in this one. Here we are getting to where we're going to primer the inside, tape it all off, cover the engine, keep it pretty. Cleaned all that up. Primed everything, got it ready to go back in, primed the inside of the hood, clamped it all, made it look like it was never out. There it is, all welded back in, metal finished back out. Once that's all touched up, you can't even tell it's out.
You can't. I mean, it's finished now. It's crazy how good it looks.
So it's all done, accessed all of it, and then
repaired things that weren't, you know, from the damage, like that.
Right, exactly.
So
we're getting into
drivers. What is that? Driver's front fender.
Driver's fender, yeah. Like you said, since it's going to be here, we may as well repair this stuff. So we're getting into just some damage repair on the fender here. And again, that one with some stud gun, a lot of hammering, just mainly hammer and dolly and stud gun on this to pull it all back out. Get that body line back in shape with the stud gun, and then hammer and dolly the rest. And there it is, basically finished out here. You can see the angle on it, you can check the line. The body line is nice and straight. And that's really what you're going for. Here I was swapping out your door strikers, so when I do stuff like that, just because of the age of everything, I made sure to chase all the threads just so you don't put brand new billet parts into old threads and they get stuck and you mess something up trying to get it back out.
Shout out Elite Billet.
Right, I mean you can't, those were nice looking pieces too. But that was just basics. Here, stock one, and there's the billet ones. Look good. Went right in place, and I got to say they work great. Look great. Here we are swapping out the hood hinges.
Yep. So stock ones.
Stock ones.
Put in the CVF. Dude, those look so good.
Yeah, no, they did. And again, these things, man, they bolt right up. Like, and they really do. You do one side at a time, and I put a little block of wood under the back edge of the hood there, wrapped in a rag, and it holds itself up. Swap it out. It was really easy. So I mean, it takes a little, being willing to use your body.
You're a professional, but yeah.
Right. It takes a little figuring it out, but realistically, like, get a buddy there to help hold the hood, you're good to go. But here, look at that view. Right here, stock to those things, and I mean, it looks good, and they fit with the paint scheme and everything on the Snickers. They look really good, and with some upcoming plans. This is the inside of that cab corner.
Oh, okay.
This is so here we can have it.
Yeah, so that's after you cleaned it all up.
Right. Strip the rust, and first coat of rust more. You can see it's turning white as it dries, and then the rusted spots will actually turn black. But here you can see where the damage actually tore the inner lower rocker panel also. So here, just another shot of the inner drying from rust more, ready for primer.
That's the full.
This corner. Is the full cab corner here that was sitting here.
Full truck sacrificed.
All right.
Worth it.
Then totally worth it. And we went ahead and cut off what we need. Got the skin off of here. Save the flange because they want to plug weld that right back in. Cleaned it all up. Rust more anything that's left, and then primered the back side of it all. Don't want to weld anything in that has potential to rust without doing what you can to stop it. Like here it is getting welded in. Sand and finish it all out. Plug weld all the way down the door jamb here, and then it is all finished out. So that one kind of just all fully welded up, put in place. Door shuts like it's supposed to, like it never happened.
Better than it even did before.
Right.
It used to get stuck.
Right, exactly. Yeah, when they came, even the driver's side got stuck. I had to do a little bit of tweaking on those and realigning on the strikers and everything to get it all work.
Yep.
But here you can see I ended up having to cut a little access panel on the inside to get to that one cab corner. So this was just to gain access to the top seam, basically finishing out this top seam here. It caved in a little bit on it. There's some tension on the roof portion, and so as I put heat to it, it caved. And best way to do it was to just gain access, cut the back side, and then cut your little hole into it. And there we're just fixing door strikers, getting everything lined up, and here's the side profile with a new bed on.
I think that's when you told me it was finished.
Yep, now she's good to go. She's ready to get picked up. I think Greg showed up at midnight, loaded her up, man. It was a late run on that one, but he got up, got out of here, and got down to you for your show there in Miami.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
I was able to have it out there. Everybody was able to see your work, and then because I'm always like, you work so hard on all the metal, and then you cover it with paint, and it's cool, but most people never could make a video like what we just made to kind of explain it. That's why it was nice that we were able to just do this to show them that, because now like the truck's going to come back, and the people that knew that truck was blown up will be like, oh, he fixed it or whatever. Most people will just be like, oh wow, look at this original paint truck, because it still looks like original paint. Like they went back through and put back in chips and all the different things. I mean, Jerome's nuts.
Yeah,
but
the work of his that I've seen in person it blows me away. So I can't wait to see Snickers in person.
I can't wait to bring it back. It should be done. He told me it's going to be this week or next week. I could have it picked up. And the plan is to whenever Greg comes to pick this up, because this is done after the bed pretty much.
Yep.
So whenever Greg comes to pick this up, he's going to drop it off to them so they can get painted, and then pick up Snickers and bring it home.
Nice. There we go.
I can't wait.
That'd be awesome.
And then it needs to come, well, I guess maybe you'll do it down by me, but we need to still do the engine bay.
Yeah.
Now that I got the blower, because that was the holdup.
Right, exactly. And that's why we put that on hold. I actually have a drawing and everything of the engine bay for that one. Little sketch I had done. I wish I had it in here.
Oh, you're good. I don't think I told you guys, but we got a big old Whipple that we're putting on Snickers Godzilla. So it's gonna look pretty cool.
Yeah, that one, as if it needed any more go.
It did.
We have it now.
It was slow.
Yeah.
It only spun one tire and it kept shutting off.
Well, I mean, those are valid points, but maybe could have been cured elsewhere.
I think it needs a blower.
Blowers are easiest way.
It is.
Maybe
and a locker.
A locker, yeah. Right.
New tires.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're good to go now. It's just dialed.
Well, it's getting pretty late, so I guess we'll call it here. We'll see you guys in the morning. We're going to be building this bed in the next video, so if you guys aren't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you've made it this far in the video, let me know in the comment section below, because this was a super long video of us talking, going over some pretty cool stuff. And then let me know in your, like, what do you think about Kody's work? I think it's pretty phenomenal.
See you guys.
Where should they go to follow you?
Oh man, follow me on Instagram. That's gonna be your best bet. Hit me up on the gram, 10 Knockers Custom Fabrication.
There you go.
Drop me a line on there and check it out. I need to get better about being on there, but I answer messages, I just don't post. So I'll be a better presence. But yeah, hit me up, guys.
Good night. Subscribe.
Good night. Take it easy.